Ravenswood, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We've provided a list of content warnings in the episode description.
You ready?
Yep. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I was like, do I go first? I'm Brenton.
You know, maybe I was just testing you. I didn't know. Maybe you didn't know your name. Maybe you didn't. You needed a cue for me to know your name. I just want to make sure.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know my name if no one else is introduced in front of me.
I didn't sleep a lot last night. Don't judge me.
All good.
We have 2 final episodes of Ravenswood, and thank God. Thank whoever you believe in, worship, whoever you don't. I don't know why that made me jump when you touched my shoulder and I acted like I was attacked.
Just Ravenswood, just thinking about it, just get you spooked. You did it. I'm so proud of you. You made it through.
This was the worst month of my life, maybe. And my father left when I was 10.
I've been trucking with this show all right. Like, I've been doing okay, but
it's so bad.
The ending of it made
doesn't end.
Yeah. So, like...
This makes... So when Caleb comes back, because as you know, Caleb's going to come back. You've seen him. I don't think they ever really explain anything.
No, because they... Yeah.
And so then you literally are like, what the fuck happened in Ravens? Like, I remember almost watching Ravenswood, but then I Googled it and read plot summaries, and I was like, oh, so no one knows what happened in Ravenswood.
Right. I was totally surprised that there was not more resolution there. I guess they were just really going with the idea that they'd get a season 2, and if they didn't, then that was that. So looking at it, it was, they should have had, it's not like they didn't have warning signs. Looking at the differences between the ratings of the 2 shows, Pretty Little Liars consistently got like 2 million and more viewers each time, and Ravenswood only topped that in its first episode, and then otherwise was like only hitting in the millions. So it's like they knew the ratings weren't high, so like that there would be some sort of axe that could come down.
But was that still more than other shows that were on at that time? You know what I mean?
Oh, looking at the cable ratings, it was like pretty low.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't think it deserved to be higher. But...
Right. So, I mean, some other like qualitative reasons that you could look at is there was a new president that came on in December. So that was in between the first half of the season and the second half of the season of ABC Family. So, I mean, what do new media presidents love to do? Cancel things. Get things off the books. I mean, look at the recent Warner like HBO merger, that like Discovery merger, and just millions of things getting axed, or even when Disney took over 20th Century Fox and all the movies that either got shipped out or just shut down. And then the other kind of qualitative reason that I was kind of doing, I did a peek around the Pretty Little Liars subreddit at the time. There was a post for when this got canceled, and the majority of it was like,
thank God.
Yeah, just being like, oh, some variation of, okay, we no longer have to like pretend like we like need to pay attention to the show, and then the other half being like, Caleb will be back. Well, Caleb will be back. Like, please make Caleb back.
Because like all they really like, what I found really strange about this show was they should have hired Hanna to do more episodes.
Yes.
And they should have been having more of that, because that's what people wanted to see. And if you wanted to make a paranormal spooky show, that was fine. And if you wanted to spin it off of Pretty Little Liars, that was fine. But you needed one of the liars.
Yeah.
You'll notice that like even when we get to the Perfectionist, which I didn't watch, but like they don't use the core liars for that. And I don't know if they'd wanted to, and those girls didn't want to do it, or like what, right, I don't know what
was going on. Yeah.
But I think the show was about these 4 girls specifically, and that's what made it so interesting, was these characters and the way all of their lives intertwined. And Caleb was a fun accessory.
Yeah.
The techno boy toy.
And when we talk about episode 10 in more detail, there's like big reasons on like they're really trying to make this happening, and I think it like works to its detriment. But you could see it like an idea where it's like Hannah and him are still harmonious, and you're almost going back to like older like serial television or episodic television where they still have this like off-screen relationship, and she shows up every now and then to help them solve Scooby Gang shit.
Yeah, they could have done that versus breaking them up.
Right, and which means it would be less of a focus on some sort of romantic tension at the front, which is like the biggest weight holding the show down is the trying to make Miranda and Caleb happen.
Yeah, because
which
also,
is
like,
why I got so mad at the ending, because I'm like, you could have been doing this the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also like it would have been fine. I wouldn't have loved it, but it could have been fine if Miranda had a crush on Caleb and he had just been with Hannah. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have like in high school, you just have a crush on someone who's dating someone else.
Yeah, totally.
That's that could have been a very normal plot line, and where she was like trying to be respectful because she respects Hannah. Like that's actually like an interesting way to show respect and female friendship and how all of that works. But
there's even a long history of male leads where the women on the show are obviously attracted to him, but there's not a romantic connection there. I'm not saying that's like the peak of stories, but it's like a less obtrusive way of doing this rather than really calling attention a pairing that nobody wants to happen because of the pre-existing show that you watched for 4 seasons.
Yeah, that got you here.
Yeah.
The reason we're here, literally, Hannah.
Right. 3.5 or so. Yeah. Yeah. Womp, womp, womp. And then I have more thoughts on the specific thing that made me angry in episode 10. But
just the amount of times Caleb was like, Hannah, don't, and then walked away.
It's specifically Caleb and Miranda stuff. The Caleb's ghost coming back, because it's like, oh my God, you could have been doing this the entire time.
What if Caleb had found his own jar and he'd cracked it open and then he'd met the other Caleb ghost?
Right.
Then we could have had like a Freaky Friday, or not a Freaky Friday, but a Parent Trap situation, but not,
Totally. Yeah. With more thoughts on that more thoughts on that at 10.
Okay. Do you want to summarize these real quick so we can just be done?
Let's do it. I don't think there'll be too much of us. I don't think we'll have too much to say about episode 9 since it's all mostly set up. And then we'll just jump into episode 10 off that. But I mean, we'll take a pause and see. Ravenswood, episode 9, Along Came a Spider. Open on the cemetery. The Mathesons are at their dad's gravestone. I started using their like last name now because it's like they really started hammering it home. So this is
before this, we had no idea they had last names.
Right. So this is Olivia, Luke, and then oh my God, they said their mom's name too, and I forgot to.
It's even on the gravestone.
Yeah. Oh shit. Lost it. And mom are at their dad's gravestone, and it's all been replaced by Mr. Collins' gift, and even has like spray paint retarded material. Olivia asks what Collins did with the old one, and mom says, I don't know, and then tells a story like about like we should just go sledding down a mountain on it. Me and your dad, we used to like go up to the skis, and he's like, we should do a nudie, and it's like if we weren't worried about his winky like getting like frostbite, like we would have just been out there like skiing it up.
They said he did get frostbite. They got frostbite in some delicate areas.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, mom. Luke sees a red-headed woman leaving flowers.
Luke looks a little uncomfortable, and it's a valid reaction. Me too.
And Olivia's like, ha, ha, ha. You were so in love. We then cut to police walking up to arrest their mom. This is a new detective in town. The red-headed woman smiles at them ominously, and we see that
because that's what we needed 2 episodes before the end. New characters.
But it's not even.
Yeah.
It's Abaddon and Drag. And then she's got like these, it almost looks like...
No, I meant the detective.
Oh. Completely forgot about it. I was just like,
you literally just said there's a new detective in town.
Ooh, I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know why they did the whole Spider Woman being him. That's why there's no Spider Woman, because Spider Man.
I looked up because like Abaddon, I knew. So I'm like, Abaddon is obviously something else because in Dota there's a like hero named Abaddon. So I'm like, oh, this is obviously something that recurs elsewhere. And in like Christianity and old like Judaism like texts, it's either referred to as like a dark devoid place or like a dark afterlife, or a specific person that's like a similar to like a Satan or like a Lucifer, like dark being. He is mentioned in the Book of Revelations and like commands an army of locusts and things.
Wouldn't know. We don't read that as Catholics.
Right, exactly. It's technically in the New Testament, but it like controls plagues of like locusts and things like that. So I think that's what they're trying to do here, is like it controls spiders, like sort of thing. That's what it's trying to, I don't know. But the woman has this like weird, like kind of like red mark, almost looks like irritated like skin sort
like
of thing.
Like a bruise.
Yeah. And then a spider crawls out of the side of her face under the skin.
It's lovely.
It is. Luke and Olivia argue outside the police station about Dylan's disappearance and the police not talking to Springer. Luke says the warning he received in jail is happening now. Collins walks out to talk to them, and they're on edge that he's even here. He offers to drive them home because their mom is under arrest for now. The detective then asks to speak to Raymond alone, and he walks over to talk to them. Olivia and Luke discuss Collins, but are then called in to go see their mom. Caleb's at school, Ravenswood High School. The show in the past is taking all our feedback.
In real time.
Right. And Miranda is too. He's like annoyed that she's there, but Roy rolls with it. Caleb talks to her at his locker, and he's like, his first class is history with Mr. Price, and he thinks that it's with Luke and Remy, but he hasn't seen them yet. He gets annoyed because his lock won't open, and he vents to Miranda about it, and two girls look at him weird and they're like, who are you talking to? And then they make fun of him for being mentally ill, so Miranda knocks books out of their hands.
And busts open their locker.
Yes, busts open their locker. Mr. Price comes out and dismisses the girl, and he's like, calls Caleb into class. Olivia and Luke meet with their mom. Luke paces the visitation room at the police station, and so the mom dismisses him to go get her coat. She then goes to Olivia and is just like, you have to keep an eye on him. You have to take care of him now. He's a loose cannon.
Boys are useless.
He still thinks I killed your dad. And Olivia's like, it's okay. Like, he doesn't now. Like, he knows. And she's like, what does he know? And Olivia's like, nothing. Luke sees Remy outside, and Remy encourages them to go talk to Springer to get more details on Dylan. Class is dismissed, and Caleb is distracted on his phone, and Mr. Price lets him off with a warning for using his phone in class. Caleb says, sorry, my friend Luke's mom is in jail, and Mr. Price is like, oh, well, that's terrible. That family's been through so much. Hey, I've heard you work at Collins and, like, live there. Like, you should, like, be careful of him, because I've had strange dealings with him. I work for the Historical Society, and I was going to go take pictures of the chapel near the west entrance. And take pictures of the stained glass, but it's chained shut, and he chased me off the property. I don't know why it's locked up, though.
Sorry to interrupt here, but while we're here, didn't you think because of this that Mr. Price must be like one of the baddies or like super suspicious?
Mm-hmm.
And he just has nothing to fucking do with the plot.
He's just gone.
He's just a plot device.
Yep. He's just like, well, we need to get Caleb to the chapel.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get married.
It's like with the book thing, and he's like, you don't want to read that. And I'm like, oh, so he's a baddie. But maybe he was supposed to be down the road, you know?
Yeah.
Like involved.
Mm-hmm. This is my same question with Tess. You know what I mean? In like a season 2 or something, they'd come back.
Yeah, what the fuck happened to Tess?
Yeah.
She's gone?
She's gone. She's free and clear, apparently. Olivia talks on the phone, trying to sort out bail for her mom when she hears her doorbell. She answers it, and it's Dylan. He comes inside, or he asks to come in, but just eventually comes inside. Olivia grills him about his disappearance. And he's like, my parents shipped me off to ministry camp because my mom found condoms in my drawer, and I got to get the devil out of me. Olivia says...
Do you think your parents would have shipped you off to ministry camp if they had found condoms in your drawer in high school?
No. Mm-mm. Only if it was like... No, they wouldn't. Yeah. They would have had like a talk. But no. They were never like that type of parents, luckily.
I was just like, mine would have to paid enough attention to like go through my drawers, but
right. Just curious. On my
I would have been like, why? How did they give these out at school?
Right. Yeah, I must have just gotten it like somewhere like
my
that.
mom would literally just be like, oh, yeah, did they give those to you in sex ed? And I'd be like, no, mom, they didn't even show us how to put it on the banana. Like,
yeah, we don't get that no more.
They don't teach us anything. They say, this is what STDs look like on genitals. Do
Gonorrhea.
you want this?
Yeah.
And don't touch each other.
Yeah, Jesus.
During PE. I loved it. At least we didn't have to dress out for PE.
We had a separate class that was not PE to do this. We had a health class.
What did you do for the rest of the year?
I don't know.
Just like 1 year, you just had to take health?
Mm-hmm. It was like for not even a full year. It was like a semester.
What did you do with the rest of that time for the other semester?
There was another class that like filled in the spot.
Okay, I was like,
what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
Wow, what was it like to go to a funded high school?
Well, we got a half semester of health and didn't gain much more knowledge.
We played sports I didn't understand. Got shown pictures of diseases and drugs, and we colored.
We did that too, but it was in separate classes. So we also had PE, but
foreign.
Mm-hmm. Olivia,
what'd you do on bad air quality days?
See, that is actually the marker of our class distinction. What do you mean? San Diego is so many bad days. Olivia says, guess what? My mom's in jail. And Springer said that you forced him to plant the knife at our house. And the message on his phone sounded like he was talking to you. Dylan's like, he's framing me. I wouldn't do that. Olivia's mad and it's just like, you should have called. Dylan says, you know I'm telling the truth. I'm sorry. Forgive me. It's okay. And she seemingly does. They kiss. The door opens to Luke coming home, who just like looks wide-eyed and then just walks right past them as Dylan's like, hey, Luke. Springer watches a movie in the hospital. Oh, I forgot to look up what this movie was. As Remy comes in, he's annoyed that she's here, but she pushes him to like tell more like about his like dealings with Dylan. She tries to get him to go to the cops on it, and he's like that'll work, just like for my dad. She gets a text from Luke that Dylan's back, and she asks, oh, do you not want to talk because Dylan's back? He's like, what makes you think he ever left? Remy asks what she can do for Springer to help like get Dylan off his back. Caleb talks to Miranda and wonders if Springer threw Dylan under the bus to distract from Collins. Tells her about the chapel. Miranda wonders if he's trying to keep something in the chapel since she strolled by it and it's all locked up. They brainstorm how to break in. Caleb will look for the key while Miranda keeps an eye on Collins to warn Caleb if he comes back. Olivia talks to her grandma on the phone, and then when she hangs up and talks to Luke, she says, our dad's family won't be giving us any help because they think our mom did it. Olivia is angry that she can't tell her mom about all the supernatural shit, and Luke is angry she took Dylan back, but Olivia is indignant and is like, I know him better than you, Luke, and he's just like, why? And he's like, oh, did you two have sex? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it.
How do you get there?
I don't know.
If I was like, oh, I know you better, and people were like, oh, because you fucked him? Like,
right. Not, especially in high school, it's just like because you're dating.
Yeah, like because I talk to him more.
Luke,
literally, we talk more.
Luke, are you friends with Dylan?
Do you guys call each other? You talk on the phone?
We played basketball all the time. How would you know him better than me?
Yeah. We use the same locker room.
Right.
Maybe he felt special, like he's the only one who'd seen him sneaky until that point.
Little jealousy among siblings. Olivia's
paranormal romance got weird. I don't like it.
They're fighting over the same person. Olivia says, I don't want to talk about it. And he didn't want to leave. He got sent away by his parents. Luke says, I heard he never left town. Olivia says, I have to keep an eye on you, okay? You're like acting all crazy. And Luke says, it's the other way around. I have to keep an eye on you. Collins meets with Olivia's
Meanwhile,
mom.
They both go do things separately.
All right, now we're going to wait till nightfall and take long walks.
Alone?
And we'll go separate ways. Colin, yeah. They didn't take our advice on athletic shoes either.
No, but you see how Hanna can still run in her heels? You know, she's walking on grass in those.
Yeah, she's experienced. She's like, God damn it, these people don't know what they're doing here. Collins meets with Olivia's mom in the police station while Miranda watches them. He says, you have kids to look after, and like says when she left for college back in the day, it hurt because she was the only person that treated him like a person, not some weirdo for being the mortician's son. He didn't leave town because he had to take over the business, and he asked her to let him help her. Caleb visits Colin's secret office. He finds a loop of keys and jars and goes to leave. When he comes out into the morgue, he realizes that the body that he passed on the way in has disappeared. The lights start flickering and the doors are all locked. He sees a vision of a ghost in a glass vial, and he gets all crazy, or he gets all scared, and all the bottles shake. He sees the ghost in a jar, and then all of them crash to the ground, releasing chemicals. He sees it again in the reflection of the morgue freezer, and he breaks out of the room. Okay, so this stuff in hindsight doesn't make any sense. But more on that later.
I think maybe it's like supposed to be like the baddies, like you know how there was like the scary La Llorona lady in the house until Miranda died.
So it's like different ghosts other than Abaddon?
Or maybe they didn't want them to go in there because if they went in there, that's when Abaddon could get them. Remember, that was the whole thing.
So if they're all dead and then Collins doesn't collect their hair, he could potentially collect them and hold on to them until he can resurrect them again and then kill them all again.
Yeah, exactly. So he wanted to basically, he could.
It's easier than them just being alive, I guess.
Or like if he knocks them out, like I guess they don't have to die. But yeah, like if they're dead, I guess if any of them are dead, he can just bring them back and then they can all die together.
Right.
Because they have to all die together.
Yes. There's some things about the pact that they really gloss over in the next episode that I'm like, oh, this is something that's actually cool and good that you could have dug into if you hadn't like sped rush it into the last episode.
Yeah, like is there supposed to be 6 children, or is it the fact that Dylan traded his spot for Olivia and then Luke was supposed to be the sacrifice from their family?
Well, it's only 5, so we assume that one of them is like
The
Abaddon or something, like signing his name on the pact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then the other 5.
So then Olivia is Dylan's fill-in. He traded his spot to put Olivia.
Yeah.
But then Luke would have died anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think it's...
I mean, fair.
Yeah, because
Not for Dylan, but like...
Yeah. We'll get into this a little bit later. I got some questions. And he breaks out of the room eventually. Remy does research and looks at an article on local resident found guilty of armed robbery. Luke goes to Remy's house and says nobody was at Dylan's house. He wasn't even at school. Can't track him. Remy says,
does
3
Dylan
people...
have parents?
I know. That's another thing. It's kind of like the Mona situation where it's just like...
We meet Mona's mom later. You're going to meet Mona's parents.
Oh, well, at least right now, where it's like, it's like things seem weird because like when Mona disappears in like season 4, like Toby goes to like watch her house and just nobody's there. Yeah. Remy says 3 people were involved in a robbery, but only Springer's dad went to jail. Luke tells Remy that Olivia has a blind spot for Dylan because they had sex, and Luke's like, well, she did it before me. And Remy's like, I thought you were okay with waiting. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine with it.
She also makes a joke that Olivia was 4 minutes older.
Yes.
And then I was
that was actually pretty good.
Then I was like, they're twins? I did not realize they were twins this whole time. I thought Luke was supposed to be older. I don't know why.
Just because
he's taller.
Yeah, maybe. Olivia, well, they don't portray him as naive as Olivia.
Olivia depends on which episode.
Yeah, that's fair. Olivia, he's just erratic, not necessarily like as like I don't know things.
He's back out of his Toby era.
Yeah. Olivia goes to the cemetery as the gate slams shut behind her. Miranda comes to visit her and says Caleb is out of commission because of like something that happened in the morgue. She also tells Olivia about watching her mom and Collins, and it's like he could actually like help them. Like you don't have to trust him, but like he would actually be able to help like get your mom out, and I think you should take that opportunity. Simon and Remy clean up after dinner. They discuss her mom being gone again, and I wrote down these shows love having army spouses just being gone domestically. They come back to war, but then they ship him back out to a different state. Remy asks if the verdict is bad for Olivia and Luke's mom, are we okay to disagree in the paper? Did you ever disagree with something and not write about it? And he's like, we have to pick our battles. We're a small paper in this town. Colin sweeps up the glass mess as Olivia comes in to visit him. Olivia says, Luke doesn't know I'm here, and I need you to help my mom. She sees the body on the table's foot twitch, and she freaks out. Remy visits Springer and shows him an article she wrote about his dad. She says maybe this could change public opinion and get him an early parole. Springer makes sure she's willing to do this, and it's like, you just want to do this to hear about Dylan and the knife, and she says yes, so he agrees for it to go to print. Mr. Price stops Luke at school. He gives him some positive encouragement and says it's okay if he wants to spend time away from after-school activities, and Luke's like, I just want to go watch the game. It's okay. This is another reason that I was like, is Mr. Price supposed to be suspect here? Mm-hmm. Caleb and Miranda break into the chapel, and Miranda freaks out about the giant spider on Caleb's arm. He brushes it off, and they get inside, and Miranda says the chapel reminds her of the second foster family she had when they would go to church, and it was like this really nice time for me. And Caleb's like, can you like help me look for stuff? And she's like, oh, I was just trying to have a memory. Rude.
She's having a moment.
And Caleb's like, can you shut up? Caleb sees sunshine through the stained glass, and it illuminates words written on the ground. Miranda wonders if it's the last names for all the elders assigned to pact. It is Rivers, Dalton, Scudder, Sanders, Waterman, and Baker. No Mathesons or Collins are listed on there, and Miranda says Dylan's last name is Sanders. What about Tess's? Remy comes home to her dad sitting.
What's Springer's last? Oh, Springer is Springer's last name. Just kidding.
Yeah, so he's not necessarily involved. So that's why I think that it's still like we can help your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Remy comes home to her dad sitting in the dark and he tells her to sit down. How long was he sitting in the dark? He's mad about her article, and she says, I did this to get Springer to talk. Simon says she threatened the entire credibility of the paper. You have no idea what your grandfather did to buy this paper. You can't do this. You're off the paper.
Giggling at Simon Says.
I didn't notice it. He says, give me your typewriter and your newsy hat. You're off the force. Remy says...
Meanwhile, she's a child.
Remy says this is about more than Luke's mom, and he's just like, okay, what else? But she doesn't tell him more, and he's like, that's what I thought. Olivia meets with Miranda and Caleb, and they wonder what Dylan's motivation would be for doing his weird actions. Dylan is at school in the locker room packing up. He's left alone as Luke comes over and Luke asks him like what he was doing the last 3 days and questions him. Dylan goes to pack his locker, so Luke starts looking through his phone, and Dylan tries to take it from him, so Luke grabs Dylan. Dylan yells at him to let go of me as the showers begin to all steam. Dylan says, you can kick the crap out of me all you want, but it won't change anything. I'm not in this alone. I have backup. I found a way out, and you can too. And Luke's like, what? What did you find a way out of? And he's like, I made a deal, and I'm out of the pact. If you offer him something he really wants, he's happy. He's happy to like take you up on it. He was happy to take your sister instead of me. Luke loses him in the steam, which has now become a fog, and then Luke instead approaches the source of the steam instead of going after Dylan, which Dylan was presumably heading for the exit, which is where I would go. Luke gets pushed into the wall and then choked by a hand. Suddenly the hand drops him and the steam disappears. Caleb goes back to the chapel at night all alone. Good idea. The red-headed woman appears behind him. Caleb hears someone move behind him and he looks around, but the woman dodges out of the way from his flashlight. He looks on the ground and finds a bunch of spiders, and he's like, ugh. Olivia comes home and tries to call Dylan, but gets his voicemail. She hears a noise and finds that her mom's home. She says Olivia did the right thing going to Collins. She's like, I'm home for now, but this is just getting started. And she's like, you need to find out where Luke is. Remy walks down the street alone as a paper blows by in the wind. She sees it's an old version of the Gazette and turns around to see the boy with bloody eyes. When she turns back, the paper's gone. Luke comes home and Olivia sees the hand markings on Luke's neck. He gets mad when Olivia tells him she went to Collins. Luke tells her about Dylan and giving her up to save himself. Olivia insists Dylan cares about her, and Luke says, I'm
sure he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, but I'm guessing that's how he made the deal. Remy rounds the corner and sees Dylan sitting in a car with Collins as Colin is yelling at him. Collins then looks in the rearview mirror, sees her, and they drive away. The end.
Okay. Where did the body on the table go?
So in keeping with Scarecrow attacking Caleb, he should have been attacked by the body.
Yeah.
Instead of a bunch of jars breaking. The body should have gotten up and attacked him.
Maybe there's like some protective things that Collins did on his property. You know? He's very witchy.
Yeah, he really is. But like, they're really good at getting to people.
Uh-huh.
He almost died.
Mm-hmm.
With whatever the fumes were. I guess maybe
maybe you just knocked him out. I don't know.
Yeah, but I still think the body should have attacked him.
Where was Dylan actually?
Maybe he's in the creepy house for like 3 days. But why for 3 days?
Where's his family? Because obviously he has a family.
Mm-hmm. And he's just gone.
And where did Collins take him in the car?
Oh, they're just going for a ride.
Oh.
It seems like he and Dylan have like some sort of... Because what was he trying to get Dylan to do? Because later when, I think that's in episode 10, at the beginning, Grunwald's just like, he's going to do it. And he's like, yes, we got to trust that he'll do the right thing. What was he telling him to do? We have no idea. Because obviously Collins was wrong to trust him.
Mm-hmm.
But why did Collins trust him in the beginning? Maybe Collins had reached out to people that were part of the kids that were part of the pact anyway.
Or maybe he knew he was part of the pact and went to Collins, and Collins was like, okay, here's what we're going to do to break it.
Or maybe, yeah, that could be it. Because I was thinking that's how Dylan would have found out about the pact, is Collins going to him. He's like, your name is on there. You're part of the bloodline. So like, if you want out of this, we have to work together. And here's what you do.
But why him and not the others?
Yeah. Because a lot of those names don't even line up with all the kids that were in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't...
do we know if any of those are made? Like, it could have been maiden names. It could be from the mom's side.
Oh, that's true.
That's what I kept thinking.
Yeah, because I think they even mentioned that actually in episode 10 of being in like
what
there's
was
no
Miranda's mom's last name? Oh, I guess it would have been Collins.
Collins.
But what was her dad's last name?
Or
what is Miranda's last name? Collins.
Collins. Yeah. So then what was
her bio dad?
It could have been her what is her mom's maiden name?
But her mom is Collins' sister, is Ray's sister.
Or what was what was their last name dating back all the way till then?
But what I was saying,
that was also Collins.
Yeah, I was saying what's the father's, like her father, because like Miranda was named after, she has her mother's last name because she's a teen baby, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, okay, so
what's her dad's last name?
It's her ancestor's brother is the one that signs the pact in Remy's dream. So then what was the last name then? Because I had an alternate theory. I'm like, oh, did OG Miranda die because she married Caleb and then that's a Rivers? But that doesn't. Yeah, so then, but someone in her ancestry line signed the pact. But that wasn't the last name.
I don't know.
Yeah. So let's see.
Because we think the curse, it took her mom. That's what happened to her mom.
And then was Dylan, Collins, and Luke and Olivia's dad all in it together?
I don't know.
I don't know. Wait, but her mom died because she was investigating the pact.
Miranda's mom?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Right. And we never will.
Yeah. We don't ever get details from Springer from this episode either.
No, and also it seems to allude that his dad took the fall for the entire thing, and that he also alludes that his dad went to the police or made a deal with the police.
And he got screwed over.
Yeah, but we don't know exactly what happened there. So then he blames the Matheson's dad for taking him down.
And then my only other note was like how weird it is that everyone's weirdly obsessed with whoever Olivia's sleeping with.
Right.
Like, why do we give
Olivia had sex?
Yeah. She's a teenager. I mean, sure, did she have sex with a man who might be a demon?
Right.
Yeah, like, and that's a little like fun paranormal romance for us. But
which, yeah, I thought about this today. So it's like, I feel like you or even one of your friends that you know that has read more paranormal romance really could have done a good.
Yeah, I was like, I've read vampire romance novels.
some romance.
There's no ghosties.
Taking more of the romance novel approach to some of this stuff would have benefited immensely.
So teen dramas, much like romance novels, much like YA, which are basically the same thing, like YA books or like new adult books now too. Like it's all hits this very important cornerstone of like action and romance and love, and the idea that love conquers all basically is like the underlying theme through most of those things. And like the idea that like love is the most important thing we do, because it is, and that's the truth. And if you don't like to hear that, then I'm sorry. You can go to therapy. But the idea that like the love, whether it be romantic or friendship, and there's lots of good twists on that. I even think of like Frozen is a good twist on like the idea that like the true love was between the sisters, and that the idea that like love doesn't have to just be, but they still have romantic love in there, because like that's not everyone wants or experiences romantic love, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people like it's a really fun way to explain the human experience, and it's, I think, the cornerstone of a lot of the teenage years. At least the way like my teenage years were designed. It was like dating and who was dating who, and if I was dating, and were they the one, and like those ridiculous like concepts that like when you look back at it and now at 30, and I'm like, why would I think at 17 that this moron I was dating, like absolute moron, like I'm like, maybe, I mean, like, you know, there's something there, so maybe love conquers all, and it's like, yeah, sure, but not like that. Not like that. And so I think that's what makes things like this fun, is like that it's that almost like Taylor Swift love, like living for the hope of it all, like kind of feeling where you're just like, what if this is the one? And if they had played into that with like Miranda pining while also being independent and doing her own thing and still having those emotions, I think that would have been a really interesting story, because like everyone, I assume, has had a crush on someone that was dating someone else at some point. Even if it's just like a little crush and you're like, it's like, oh, like, or they have a crush on someone they know they can't have, or they think they can't have, where it's like, oh, I'm not good enough for them, or they're out of my league, or they'll never even notice me, or they don't see me like that.
Right.
And I think that there's a way to do that without making her seem weak.
Yes.
And there's a way to do that without making her seem like lesser or pathetic, or like she then will make, I mean, you always make stupid decisions as a teenager, but and now she's perpetually stuck as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Her frontal lobe is never going to develop. But yes, I think there's lots of fun ways they could have played with the romance in this that they didn't. And I also think that they could have spent more time building the female friendships, because that's what makes Pretty Little Liars so interesting.
Yep.
Emily and Allison are the only two that have like a romantic connection at some point. You know what I mean? Like out of the main girls. And then everyone else, like, that is just solidly like best friendship, like ride or die friendship. And like, that's what makes it a really impactful, fun story, because they have these best friends, but they keep these secrets, and they all have these different secrets. And sometimes certain ones only know certain secrets. And then, you find out that Hannah was having sex on your Nana's couch.
But that gets to the core of it, the interesting conflict.
Yeah, exactly. And that it's all comes from a place of love. Like, it's all about that story. And like, this was so much more about this like weird town. They tried to make the town kind of like the plot in the city. Well, because they couldn't figure out how to do the pact in that few episodes.
Yeah.
Because we still don't fully understand the pact.
No. And they also, like you said, the way they portray Miranda's love in this, and also they hitched their wagon to the romantic feelings between her and Caleb, which, as we talked about many times, is like
from the very beginning, it should have been sibling vibes.
Yeah. Completely wrongheaded there. Or in the way they approached it, where it's just like they just have these like this like icy detente between each other, and there's not a lot of warmth there for you to be excited about.
Yeah.
So it when I like point at like ways that someone more familiar with romance could have done with this, there's way more interesting ways of generating this sort of conflict and like that like romantic spice and excitement between like watching characters trying to figure out their feelings around one another.
And I want a Miranda Olivia fanfic so bad.
There you go.
I'm not going to write it because, I'd have to understand what happened in these episodes. And to be frank, I had a hard time. I was like, how do we know Max again? How does Caleb know Max's name? And I was like, oh yeah, because she tried to take Miranda.
Yep.
I was like, how does he know her? I thought they didn't know each other.
Mm-hmm. They're good friends. Well, before all this, then she showed her true colors, and that just wasn't.
Stood in front of a green screen and laughed.
My crow.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No. And it doesn't focus as much on the romance isn't exciting. And it doesn't even focus on like the more interesting one of like Olivia and Dylan.
We didn't even get a good spice scene.
No.
Like Pretty Little Liars has the occasional, like you get like an alluded sexy scene, and this was like.
But that's also like catharsis. There's no good buildup like that in this, right?
But you could have watched like an Olivia Dylan one, and like he's evil. Like it gets alluded to, but it doesn't it doesn't happen.
You just get knowing smiles with Max in the back.
Yeah, and then everyone just like knows. Yeah, I mean, I guess like there's that creepy part, but like I mean, like in the actual scene where it's happening, like even just like a layer down on the blanket vibe.
Yeah, but there's no buildup for that or investment for us to like want to
watch that.
Yeah. Well, let us speed to the conclusion then. Episode 10, My Haunted Heart. Collins prepares a body for a funeral. Grunwald brings him coffee and asks if she spoke to the boy. He's like, yes, I spoke to Dylan and he knows what to do. Grunwald asks, does he have the fortitude? And Collins says, we have to trust him. Dylan works on his car as Max appears by him. He's like, I'll stop them. I don't know how they were able to see these things. I'll stop them before anything else goes on. She lowers the car jack one bit on him, which freaks him out. And she's like, ha ha ha, you make me laugh. The Scooby Gang meets at the vault. They agree to figure out who the boy with bloody eyes is. Hanna then appears, now brunette, and says hello. He introduces her to everyone, and she asks where Miranda is. Remy looks through the archives, and her and Luke discuss Hanna showing up, and Remy says, poor Miranda. Hanna showing up and says, poor Miranda. They find an article that matches the bloody-eyed boy, and he died in a dance hall accident. See Dylan watching them from outside the window.
I did not catch that he died in a dance hall accident.
Yeah, there was like a dance hall collapse or something.
Oh, don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
Exactly.
A whole new meaning to me. I was like,
oh no. Yeah, shoe flew off and took him out. Caleb shows Hanna his new home, and he wonders why she showed up suddenly. And she's like, I wanted to talk to Miranda. She wants to know where she is, and he tells her that she's dead. The boy's name was Ryan Atwater. The boy with the bloody eyes, his name was Ryan Atwater, and he was blind. Simon arrives home. Apparently, Mom will be back on Tuesday. Finally, we totally tell. Mom,
was he blind or was he blinded?
He was blind.
Okay.
I said that with a lot of confidence.
No, I don't remember at all. That was a detail that didn't make it in my questions and notes.
Simon is still angry with her and walks upstairs and keeps his briefcase on him so she doesn't get to dig and look at the paper stuff. Hanna asks Caleb about Miranda and him breaking up with her. And then Miranda just tells Caleb that he needs to tell everything to Hanna. Caleb tells her all the details, but Hanna thinks he's lying. Hanna tells Caleb to show her Miranda. And he's like, well, like, I can't. Like, you either see her or you don't. And then Hanna leaves mad, and Caleb and Miranda look sad. Hanna sits at the vault as Grunwald notices her and walks over, and she's like, Hanna, like, good to see you. And then tells her, like, we are all felt by Miranda's death, especially Caleb. And it says Caleb says he talks to her, and Grunwald says the veil's thinner here. Grunwald tells her to stay a little longer to try and work things out with him. Hanna says, thank you for saving Allie, and Grunwald then gets her to come back to the house. Olivia looks at the picture of Ryan Atwater, and she's like, I saw him at the vault. This is the boy. She wonders if he can show Luke and her what happened to their dad because they think he's trying to tell them something. Caleb sits alone and gets a text from Luke to meet at the town hall. Hanna then shows up to talk. She feels mixed up because of everything about like Caleb said. And like, I thought that like, you know, whatever was going on with you, Miranda, was like a thing. But then I come here and she's actually dead and find out that you almost died. And then he comforts her. Olivia, Luke, and Remy goes to visit their dad's old office, which remains completely intact. Olivia asks Ryan, it's just like speaks to the air and is like, Ryan, is there something you want to show us? Hanna notices Caleb is distracted by like, it's like, you've got like that look on your face that says I need to answer a text. And he's like, okay, I'll be right back. As she waits alone, a red ball rolls up and Max comes over and it's just like, hey, I'm Max. Like, I'm like, are you alone? And Hannah's like, yeah. And it's like, well, not really, like my boyfriend's over there. Max is like, well, do you want to come meet my friends? And Hannah's like, sure. Caleb finished talking to Luke on the phone and says we'll meet them later. He then notices Hanna walking away with Max and goes to run after them, sees them getting ice cream. So he goes over there. Hanna notices that Max and Caleb look at each other weird, and it's like, do you know each other? Caleb gets Hanna to walk away from her, and Hanna says, like, I've seen her before at the Halloween thing in Ravenswood. Hanna isn't scared of her at all and ignoring Caleb's warnings, but when she turns back, Max is gone, so she goes to look for her. The red-hooded woman watches them and eats an ice cream as a spider crawls onto the ice cream, and then she eats it. Hanna sits in the funeral room the like little like
viewing room.
The viewing room, yeah, thank you. At the Collins house, talking to Miranda, but she can't hear Miranda back. Miranda sits behind her and is laughing, hearing her talk about stuff. Hanna wonders aloud about Caleb feeling guilty about Miranda, and Miranda's like, he's a good boy. Hanna says, I was sure he was in love with you, and Miranda's like, oh, really? What did he say? Hanna's like, I don't know, everything's all messed up right now. And then Miranda looks sad and is like, he loves you, and encourages Hanna to like leave town so Caleb will know she's safe, and that like, don't worry, I'll protect him.
But what's the point? Because Hanna can't hear her.
Because she just has to say something, but like it's a stupid scene for us to all be like, well, Caleb's such a good guy. In the mayor's office.
He's a liar and a sneak.
Stop trying to make this happen. Like, yeah. In the mayor's office, Olivia hears nothing back from Ryan, so they go to leave. As they open the office door, they see Ryan outside, and then when they turn back around, they see a vision of their dad talking on the phone in the office to their mom. He digs through old newspaper clippings, one which include Ryan, so we assume that he's digging into the curse. Dylan appears and says, sorry it had to work out this way, and stabs their dad. He wraps the knife in their mom's coat. As he leaves, he knocks over a Pennsylvania book of law, which he picks up and puts back on the shelf. The vision disappears, and Remy is the only one to go like, hey, maybe we should go check the book. So goes over, looks at the book on the shelf, and sees a bloody fingerprint inside. At the vault, Olivia looks shell-shocked. Caleb is with them, and Luke is calling the cops to tell them to review the mayor's office. Olivia asks Caleb where Caleb was, and he tells them all about Max trying to steal Hannah. They say, get Hannah away from here, and like, don't tell her about Miranda at all. You really don't know Hannah.
Yeah, what's wrong with y'all?
I know, she should be involved. Olivia wants to find Dylan and kill him, and then Luke paternalistically says, no, you don't. And Olivia, of course, is like fucking mad at him. Remy is going to tell her dad about the new developments, and it's like, you know, there's some things that you can like text or call. I have to do this one in person. Why? Call him. Hannah gets ready for a shower and talks to Emily on the phone about being home soon. Remy, and we will too. Remy comes
Thank
home.
God.
Remy comes home to her house empty. Oh, I wonder why you should have called. The lights then shut off and she goes to look around. She hears noises from the other side of the house. Dylan then appears behind her and says, it's time to go. We have a date. She says, you're finished. And he says, you're the one who's finished. She asks, what are you going to do to me? The same thing you did to the mayor? He knocks her out and drags her body away. So yeah, he might. Hannah sits in the bathtub with her eyes closed as a spider crawls up the side. She sees the light flash and kind of like shakes a little bit when Caleb bangs on the door. Tells her to get out of that tub right now. We need to talk. She agrees to get out as Caleb gets a text. And then he's
so pissed if I was in the bathtub and you came and banged on the door and said, get out right now. We need to talk. Well, first of all, bitch, come in here and talk to me. And second of all.
And then the kicker is she gets out of the tub. He gets the text being like, I'll be right back. And then leaves. So then by the time she gets out of the tub and opens up the door, he's fucking gone. You maybe get out of the tub for this?
Yeah, he could have said, ooh, you don't want to be in that tub. It's gross. Or, you know.
Right. I almost died in that tub. Watch out for the shower curtain. Caleb visits Collins in his office asking
you
where
can also tell sorry really quick just by the few lines Hannah says are still very Hannah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell that she's a character that was well designed and well written and beloved by these people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a lot of that with the characters in this show.
No. And
Hannah is snarky and sassy, and all of the girls on Pretty Little Liars are kind of snarky.
Yeah, they have their own unique voice, though.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that what they really missed in this show was giving the characters that kind of sass.
Right, yeah. With like Miranda, I think Miranda's the only one where you really kind of get like a good idea of like
her personality.
Yeah, I think everybody else is very much a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Even Caleb.
Mm-hmm. Whereas like Pretty Little Liars, Caleb, you don't feel that way.
Mm-mm. Because, and that, I guess that's what happens when you try and expand to this character that is like an accessory.
You put him in and they put him in a new environment and they gave him a plot line that doesn't align with the character that he is.
No.
He would have never left Hannah.
No. And he's also usually like more like, I don't know, like more removed, doing a thing. He's like, we don't need to get involved.
Yeah, he's always trying to stay out of things.
Yeah.
He's always trying to protect Hannah. And now he's like,
I have to. Hannah is telling me to protect this girl that I think I like.
I don't know.
Caleb visits Collins in his office asking where Remy is because she disappeared. He's like, I don't know. And Caleb's like accuses him more of it. He's like, you're like definitely coming after us. And Collins like, I've kept this town safe for 100 years. Collins have kept this town safe for 100 years. Caleb says, you sent Dylan to kill the mayor. And Collins is like, wait, what? Like, Dylan had the knife all this time? And Caleb's like, you didn't know. At Remy's house, the police plus Simon, Olivia, and Luke are there. And Olivia wants to go look for Remy outside. And Olivia gets a text from Remy's phone. Collins tells Caleb their family were always undertakers to keep the children safe in those jars until the contract is complete. Caleb yells at him that he could have changed this. Collins is like, my sister and Charlie Matheson, there you go, tried to change this and they got killed. Caleb says, you did try to change it by sending Miranda away, didn't you? And Collins is like, well, I was so broken up.
Do you think Charlie Matheson is Miranda's dad?
Yes.
So she's Luke and Olivia's cousin?
What?
Isn't their last name Matheson?
Who?
Luke and Olivia.
Yeah. Charlie Matheson's their dad.
Oh, I asked if we thought that was Miranda's dad.
Oh.
And you said, yeah. And I said, okay. Because we don't know his name.
No, I thought it was Olivia and Lick's dad.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair too. I just meant like together. Like, did they try to do it together?
Because I think, yeah, right. I see what you mean. Yeah, we don't know at all about Miranda's dad, do we? Mm-mm.
Or what they did to try to end the curse.
Caleb says you did try and change it by sending her away. Collins was broken up about turning her away. He's like, my only lifeline to my family, and I had to like get her out of here. He's like, this is beyond our ability to influence or end. And then Miranda tells Caleb to leave Collins alone to be with to be with his loss, essentially. And Caleb walks away. Collins sits alone, like sad, and thinks he feels a presence, but doesn't see Miranda. Olivia shows the Scooby Gang the text from Remy, and it's a picture of the chapel, and they wonder who will be there with Dylan. The 3 Scooby Gang members arrive in the chapel and sees Remy's phone sitting on the ground. Dylan appears and the door is locked. They find Remy sitting drowsy on the other side of the chapel, and they go to pick her up. Suddenly, the stained glass glows red, and the cement where the names appear is glowing red. And then the Spider-Woman appears, saying, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," to Dylan, and then turns into the preacher. Surprise, surprise. He says, "We're one short," but then Miranda appears and is like, "No, we're not." He says, "I can give you what you want." And Caleb's like, "She wants her life back. Can you give her that?" And he's like, "Absolutely, I can. I have the authority." Remy says, "We know your deals come with a price." And he's like, "You misunderstand. I'm not here to bargain." And it bangs on a coffin that's on the altar and starts chanting. Winds suddenly blow when Miranda collapses and the doors open, so Dylan runs out. Miranda falls back and Caleb catches her, noting that he can feel her again. Dylan runs through the woods when Max...
What does that mean about her body if they did bring her back? Is her body still on the ground too?
I was assuming it was in the casket.
Oh, that was her body in the casket, that he had dug up her body?
That was my gut, but open to interpretation.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dylan runs through the woods when Max appears behind him. He yells at her. He's like, "Just shut up. I did everything I was supposed to do." And she says, "That's why I'll help you get away. I like you. You bought me ice cream. Let's go." She grabs his hands and leads him through the woods. As they run through the woods, he's suddenly on his own. He trips and lands hard on train tracks. When he hears a train approaching, the train comes and seemingly runs him over. Goodbye.
The audio cuts out too. It's really great.
Yeah, he's like, "Ah!" Collins appears and in the chapel and yells at Abaddon. The preacher is pissed that he's here, and Collins says he needs her alive to take the rest of you. You all have to die together. That was part of the pact. Abaddon runs over and grabs Miranda and starts chanting again. Collins says, "I do have a say in this. I'm willing to let this one go." And he's just like, "I choose you," and then throws the Pokeball to the ground. But we don't see who the Pokemon is. He says, "You're too weak to kill them without the evil you feed from in this chapel. 2 of them together are more powerful than you are." And then he throws the jar on the ground. Abaddon runs out and the lights go out. Miranda then says she smells roses. Colin says, "Sorry, I thought I was protecting you with all this time. She can come back, but not like this." Collins then, Luke looks over at the jar lid and notices that he set free Caleb Rivers. Caleb drops Hannah off at her car and he asks if she believes him.
Casually? This?
She's not even around. I was assuming she would be involved somehow and be like, "Well, Caleb, I understand now." Nope.
No.
There's no understanding.
What was she doing this whole time?
Taking a bath. She's like, "Finally, fucking leave me alone. I can finish." He asks, what was she doing? And what does she think he was doing?
Uh-huh.
He asks if she believes him, and she says, "I don't know, but you make me happy." She says she's not going to tell the others anything about this. Caleb says, "There's no one like you in the world," and she's like, "I know," kisses him, and tells him to hold on to that tightly. She drives away as Caleb looks at her sadly. Miranda watches even sadder from a distance. Miranda goes to sit alone this is what made me angry. Goes to sit alone on a bench as OG Caleb rounds the corner.
Hair slicked back.
The part down the middle. Asking is that you, Miranda? And then Miranda's like what? Looks over, and then he walks over and she notices that she can feel him. Caleb then flashes back. They then have flashbacks to Caleb and OG Caleb and OG Miranda exchanging vows, and then they touch, and then the end. Okay. Before we get into questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We could have had paranormal romance going on this entire time. This is what I was talking about. Like really digging it. This would have been
and so if
much.
This is a thing. Then could we also bring back the other Miranda? And could Miranda and Miranda have fought over dead Caleb because live Caleb isn't available?
Totally. So imagine this.
Or would they have intertwined? Like, could Miranda and Miranda become one?
Well, and so then also, so imagine this, right? Caleb and Miranda, like. Miranda's kind of into him and Caleb's all weird because they're supposed to be destined. So like Caleb pulls away and Miranda's upset about this. This is like what they set up here. And then OG Caleb returns. And then the continued things is like Caleb feels weird about it and he's like kind of jealous. And then the two Calebs don't get along, but like, you know, they're like, but obviously they're very similar and look like one another, so they have to deal with that. And then like Caleb and Miranda are getting close when the other Miranda comes back. So then there's this whole other thing about like Caleb and Miranda, Caleb and Miranda, and Miranda feels weird because like they had grown close together, even though she wasn't the original Miranda. That's the type of paranormal romance like you want right there, baby. Like that's the juice. And you put it at the end. You were sitting on this. That's why I was like, this is what this could have been the entire time.
And couldn't you freed like multiples of them?
Totally. And there could have been way more. This would have been the fun stuff with like Miranda being like.
Well, she can come back to life. Colin has confirmed that they can bring her back to life. So are they going to bring her back to life?
So then that even before the OG Miranda is introduced, she's like, well, I don't want to come back to life now because like I found my partner in the afterlife. And then OG Miranda comes back. And I think also there's like that stuff where they could have like explored like the weirdness of her being a ghost. Though, like that was the fun stuff, like where Caleb is drinking. It was in the previous episode, actually. I didn't write it in the notes. Where he's drinking like pineapple juice or whatever, and she's like papaya juice, and she's like, I love papaya juice. Don't drink that in front of me because I can't drink it.
Also, she can smell roses. She can't usually smell. So what does that mean?
That's what Caleb wears. OG Caleb.
OG Caleb he just smells of roses.
That's
I've never met a man that smelled of roses, honey.
That was my assumption.
Okay.
Is like that was from OG Caleb.
Maybe
it was like
meet stinky men.
Right. I don't smell like roses, so
that's okay.
When she says stinky men,
it make me sneeze anyway. Roses make me sneeze.
I understand that it's just like I wonder who she's talking about there.
Other men in my life.
I just saw like a better way the show could have gone, and I'm like, damn it, you wasted my time. You wasted my time.
Started there. Also, they did Hannah dirty in this episode. Her makeup is a mess. Her outfit is a mess. Her hair, they didn't even bother to brush it.
Her external appearance, it matches like the makeup and everything matches the plot line they gave her.
Yeah, well, and it's the quality of this show versus the quality of Hannah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how they deploy her here is just...
Hannah would never just sit there idly waiting for Caleb.
No, they turn her into Caleb's accessory. And then she has to be there to be like, well, tell the audience that Caleb is such a good guy. And that Miranda then like feels conflicted about it because it's like, oh, you are really in love. But then to like give us that more like romantic conflict that we really don't care about.
My other favorite... I
hate that they turned into an accessory.
Yeah.
Because like
it's Hannah.
In PLL, that's Caleb's job. So then when you have the flip here, it's just
But even when Caleb's an accessory, he has a purpose besides... It's elevating Hannah, but he has his own purpose that the other girls go to him for. He has specific tech skills. Like Spencer talks to him when Hannah's not with him. Remember, like there's a lot of that stuff. Like the girls use Caleb. He is their friend.
Yeah.
And in this, Hannah is an accessory and everyone's super awkward to her.
Totally. And they just like, why is she here? Get her out of here.
Yeah.
And then they have the scene of her and Miranda talking, not talking.
They could have had a scene with her and Olivia. Like her and Olivia being like, it's not what you think, but like also you should probably go home because it's not safe here. And her being like, is Olivia into you? You know, like, and then she meets Dylan. She's like, he's fucking weird. Hannah would have seen through this.
Right. So then yes, absolutely. Hannah and Pretty Little Liars would have 100% been like, bullshit.
She would have pushed Dylan in front of the train.
Yeah, that would have been good. But the way that scene, because then if it would have been her and Olivia, then it would have been about Hannah's feelings about this situation rather than Miranda and Hannah litigating Caleb's character and why they're both so interested in him.
Honestly, you know what would have been a better plot line? Hannah follows Max, gets trapped somewhere by Max.
Yeah.
Miranda rescues her.
Oh, that would have been good. I thought she was going to get captured, and that
Me
would have
too.
been interesting. So then Hannah's involved, and she understands that weird shit is happening in this
And she's
town.
taken because they think they'll get Caleb to go there. And so Miranda's like, no, he'll kill you, but I'm already dead. Let me go untie the knot or whatever the fuck, use her. And then Hannah can see Miranda.
Yes. So then Hannah, you can still have Hannah go back to Rosewood because she's like, there is a ton of shit I have to deal with, but I understand you have shit going on here.
Yeah, like I'm being stalked and Allie's alive, but I understand that maybe you weren't lying to me, and we can revisit this when all of this is said and done.
And we can see each other
occasionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can come help out when I can, but please just tell me.
Then even if they did want to do the love triangle thing, it could be like Miranda kisses him and then it's a thing and then you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah. So long story short, there's no resolution. This show sucked and I'm angry.
Yes. Very angry.
But Olivia was in her killer era and I love that for her.
Yeah. It's so paternalistic of Luke being like, you don't want to kill him. It's just like, yeah, he killed our dad and then he took my virginity.
Well, virginity is not something that can be taken unless you are assaulted.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then
virginity is a construct.
And then he pretended like we were close.
Yes, yeah. He manipulated her.
Very good correction. Thank you.
I mean, that's how they're using it in the show too, but I just refuse to view it that way.
No, like it's 100% an outdated like personal thing of like growing up in the culture that we did that is still lodged in my brain. So it's like, it's still that they like, he acted like we were close and we did something extremely intimate together after that.
I showed him vulnerability and then he traded me for his freedom and then he got hit by a train. Right. So does that mean that they
I didn't
don't
even
need
finish
to kill...
off my vulnerability?
See, does that mean that they don't need to kill Olivia now?
Because Dylan's dead?
Yeah, couldn't they just pull his body in and bring him back alive?
But he didn't die with everybody.
Yeah, but neither did Miranda.
Right.
So would they just collect the body? So could they just take...
No, but they still need Miranda. They still need to kill everybody off all in one go.
Yeah, I know, but because Miranda's already dead, couldn't they just bring Dylan, who's already dead, over too, and then bring whoever else they need and kill that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. And so...
Hashtag save Olivia.
Exactly. Get her out of this mess.
This poor girl.
Olivia is like, you're on your own.
Yeah, you're all on your own.
I'm done. I wasn't supposed to be in this. This is all your problem.
Yeah. Okay, bye. Any final thoughts?
Unfortunately, I have topics and questions.
Oh no. Why?
I'm sorry. We already talked about Hannah.
Anybody got a good number for a divorce attorney?
We already talked about the Hannah stuff, and why this doesn't work as a PLL spinoff.
We're beating a dead horse, baby.
We already talked about Abaddon. We already talked about the like ghost romances. Oh, and I also wrote that like that. It just seems like the show's really trying to play conservative, like in terms of like playing it safe. Like it's just like we're just gonna try and like stretch it out, not like rock the boat one way or another, and it's just gonna be more like down the middle. Even though you're writing a horror show, so it should probably push the limits in one way or another.
Ghost sex.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to have, I mean, it's weird enough when teen shows have sex, but like they all do because teenagers have sex and all the actors are not teenagers, but
it's a soap opera.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't even have like a ghost scene where, they make pottery or something and it's very sexual, but they don't actually have sex.
A little thigh touching.
Exactly. All right. So here's like some leftover lore questions I have. How did the Matheson's dad find out about the curse?
I don't know. We don't know. It doesn't matter.
How did Dylan? Why? And I'm assuming related to Collins. Why were they working together? Why is OG Caleb so powerful? What makes him drive? What makes the two of them drive away Abaddon? What's that supposed to?
Do you think it's actually Caleb that drives away Abaddon? No,
not Caleb and Miranda.
Yeah.
When two Calebs unite, they form.
Yeah, like that because it's the two of them.
There's Caleb Voltron. So which one's the torso and which one's the upper body? Okay, never mind.
You're on thin ice, baby. You're on thin ice.
Yeah, that could be right. I just assumed it was like OG Caleb and Miranda.
Because they would have had both ghosty Caleb and Miranda from the beginning. So why wouldn't they have just used that?
Yeah, why didn't they smash the jars earlier?
But I think that's because it had to be one live and one dead. Like you had to have one in each world.
But why did Collins not do this earlier?
Because Abaddon wasn't there.
Okay, got it.
Next question.
Yeah. Why? How does he know about Abaddon? Who's working
His sister. She was looking into it. She was trying to break the curse.
And so has he met Abaddon before?
I mean, obviously they're secret lovers.
Who?
Ray and Abaddon.
Oh. See, this is the type of this is what I'm talking about. This is the juice. Who's working with Abaddon? Like what are these other creatures? Who is that person he handed the note off to?
It's the little girl.
Oh, this is Max driving the carriage.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what is Max? Tess's involvement.
How dare you ask what is Max? Yeah. She is a very powerful creature. I have nightmares about her still.
Yeah.
I hate her.
with the passion.
Vehemently.
I also put what was Tess's last name? Does it fit into here?
It doesn't matter.
Probably not. Does she have a last name on here?
Well,
Tess Hamilton.
Like Alexander.
Mm-hmm. And so the one thing I did like that they just kind of slipped this in there, that the pact only affects the bloodline of the people who signed, right? It's those like off that 6 names there. And I think that's an interesting thing you could have explored there. It's like the town elders were like, we have to protect our boys back home and we'll sacrifice 5 random lives from our town. Because that's what it seems like. It doesn't seem like it's going to affect them. And so Abaddon's like, oh yes, random. And then it happens to be theirs. I think that's really smart. But then that's just like...
But I thought they would have known that it would be theirs.
Their children?
Yeah.
It didn't seem that way. It seemed to me that they're like, yes, like, take from the town. It would give a sheep. I don't think it meant they necessarily... I think that's like that devil's bargain sort of thing. It's just like, oh yeah, like, of course, like, nothing, no harm will come to you, but like your children. So like, they're effectively offering up their children's souls, which I think is interesting. But, you know, that's just like, whoop, thrown in there. So then we talked about like Miranda and whatever the hell's going on with. Is there another OG Miranda? I mean, because we got definitive proof that OG Caleb and Caleb are 2 different people. So our OG Miranda, well,
they're 2 different souls.
That's what I mean.
I guess.
Yeah. So then it's the same.
I
thing
don't
with
really
Miranda?
get it. Like, how do souls work in this world?
Yeah. Well, you put him.
Because how could Caleb be reincarnated if his soul was trapped?
Right. Why do they look exactly the same? Happenstance.
Well, they are from the same bloodline. Like that was his great uncle.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. I don't know. This show's weird and I don't like it and I'm confused and it made me a little sad.
Yeah, I know.
But
we're done with it.
We're done with it. And you know what we say? Never again. Not even once. If you can avoid Ravenswood, I highly recommend it. If you feel like you want to like melt your brain, you don't mind a few jump scares and really like mid 2000s computer level editing, 10 out of 10 recommend. This is the show for you.
I think it's just the cardinal sin of being boring.
Well, not only is it boring, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But you know, the reason we did it is so it's like that's part of the project.
Yeah. No.
Hopefully this
I don't regret it.
Yeah. If you want to do the project of, I want to watch everything Pretty Little Liars related, go for it. But otherwise, you've got 5 episodes of these podcasts.
Yeah. Save yourself the trouble, babes.
Yeah.
Well, final thoughts?
I'm done.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
You really had to get through it.
Yeah, but I'm proud of you for stopping.
And letting you go. All right. So plugs. You can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice. At Dead Ends. You can find us on YouTube at dead_ends. You can also follow us on Twitter for episode updates at Dead Ends Podcast. You can also send us emails, questions, even your thoughts on Ravenswood, to deadendspcast@gmail.com. And that is listed in all our description boxes, and you can find that there. So for next time, we are heading back to Pretty Little Liars, episodes 14 and 15. So get excited. And for everybody that skipped over these episodes, I hope you're excited when you get to those next ones.
Yeah. Thank you if you did listen to these because, it was hard. But we survived.
We did.
like crying. I'm like, we made it through.
And so on this, the end of Ravenswood, we're still here. And we found out everything we were going to find out. So, sometimes in life you don't get resolution.
What a beautiful message.
Yep.
Closure isn't something we get.
Not in Ravenswood, baby.
Okay, love you. Bye.